Hi, my name is Crystal McDonald in Java 2, term 1309, and this is my reflection video for week 1. What we did this week was use services to access the web and then retrieve our JSON data, and it had to be stored, parsed, and then displayed. My application this month is a title prediction application, but more specifically for clam diggers off the Puget Sound. A lot of the local tribes used to follow the tides and then canoe and dig for the clams, so this is kind of for them. I've added a few suggested cities here at the top of the application here for the user to use. So if you type in, we'll do Seattle. And then once the user hits a city name, in this edit text field, they can press the predict button, and the predict button will retrieve the information from the Wonderground API. Wonderground is mostly known for weather forecasts, but I'm using it for a title forecast. The information that's displayed in this app is the location from where I'm getting the tide information, the date, the tide information, and then the height of the wave. So later I plan to add more forecast data for the tides to meet the requirements that are coming up. This is my code. So I'm creating a custom API here. I'm pulling in the city tide information from the Wonderground API, which it uses the state of Washington, and this is just my reference here. So text views, that'll change, and when the activity first starts, I have this onCreate method that sets up the view with the information, also with a button listening for a click view. So this is when the services actually start. So when I click predict in my application, I'm getting the data and appending it to a string. So after hitting predict, this hides the keyboard information, and then my network is detected here, and you can see I'm using a Wi-Fi connection. Building the URL that I need to pull my data, which was shown as the reference up above, and this here basically takes the base URL and the city that's entered by the user.json to complete the URL, which makes my final URL. The final URL is displayed here in my logcat to show the information that's being pulled. So when the final URL is created and the service has begun, the onHandleIntent method is accessed by the handler here. And let's go up a little bit. The JSON API is being called. The data is being stored. And here are my keys here. Here's the API call and the store here. It's displaying the information here in the response where it's storing in the tideinfo.text button and converting it to a string. Then that information is the message here is being sent back to the activity, and then the data is being read from the file. Let's see, and here we go. Here's our method for the hard drive. Here's the data being read from the file, and then it's updated on the UI here. We're reading the data and then parsing the JSON. And I'm drilling down here into the object tide to get the information from the tide info array that holds the field to get the tide site information, and the array tide summary to get the object data to get to the fields that hold the wave height and the tide information, and also the data object that gets I'm sorry, the data method gets the height and the type, and then the date gets the date information. Here you can see this is the JSON, and then I'm taking it and I'm setting the text to display the text here. And so basically it's being read from the file, and then the UI is updating it and then following this parsable information. Okay, services. Services are much more challenging as opposed to the async tasks, and I think I just had a couple months to work with async tasks. Didn't really understand those as great either though, but I did like when I press the predict button, the service begins and then it fetches the data that I need and then it stops, but it continues to run, so it'll check for the new data, and then it'll update it if the user wants to continue to change the information and find title information for another site. Let's see, the lessons this week. How do I feel about Java? I don't really feel comfortable with Java still. It really makes me miss Objective-C is what it really does. I do feel like, though, this week I did learn a little bit more. I was very overwhelmed at the beginning, but walking through the project just even yesterday was really a huge help. And it kind of helps me piece out the information. I'm learning a little slower, but it really helps. When I get too overwhelmed, it's really hard for me to learn anything. So piecing it out a little bit at a time and getting the information coming to me a little slower and a bit by bit really helps. So I appreciate recognizing that and kind of helping me figure out things a little bit at a time. Things I would have done differently, I've probably got a huge list. I would probably add a BG for the landscape orientation change, or lock the position. If you notice, when you change the position, the BG is kind of warped that way. So I'd either lock the position or change or add a BG for the landscape. Also, I probably finished implementing a splash page. I did not finish that, and I might go back and do that tonight, this evening if I have the time. I would have also added text in case there is no information on tide height, because sometimes there's no tide information, and so it's left blank. I can't think of an improvement on being left blank, really. So I'll probably have to figure something out so users know it's not a malfunction. Maybe it should say something like height information not given, or something like that. The other thing I'd like to eventually do, which may be done next week, is when the tide says low, letting the user know low tide is the best time for clam digging. At the moment, I have the text displayed in the info right here. The best time for clam digging is when there's a low tide, but I like it to pop up. So if it is low tide, saying it's time to dig for clams. If it is high tide, say probably not, or maybe give other suggestions as to places where they can go there, maybe a little closer, where they haven't missed their window. So that's probably about all the changes I would have made if I had more time. As far as clarification, most things you've already clarified for me yesterday. I know content providers will most likely be the next on the list, so thanks for everything. Again, my name is Crystal McDonald in Java 2, turned 1309, and this is my reflection video for week 1. Thanks.